Today on the podcast, we have the opportunity to interview one of our noontime badass CrossFitters, Todd Toma, the man, the myth, the legend. Stick around.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
Welcome to another episode of the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we meet and learn from our CFE coaches, hang out, meet and learn about our CFE CrossFitters, and get to meet and learn about Glen Ed businesses and the leaders behind them. I'm your co-host, Coach G. My co-host, Dallas, is traveling. He's on the road today, commuting back in from an event in Chicago. So to me, it's just today I get to hang out with Todd one-to-one, trading punches, trading conversational thoughts. Like, I'm excited. I get to welcome to the podcast today, Todd Toma. Todd, welcome to the podcast.
Coach G, thanks. I appreciate it. It's exciting to be here. When you reached out to me, I thought the flashback in time for me to be able to be part of this and in the podcast and the growth of a great community. So thanks for the invite. Cheers.
Exciting. When you say it's a throwback for you, that's because this is not necessarily the first time it's been the Todd show. It's not necessarily the first time Todd has been front and center. Tell us about your background with the Todd show, the Todd TV, Todd Talks.
Todd. So it's funny, and you'll appreciate this. Everybody's heard of TED Talks, right? And so back at work, I had the pleasure at another company hosting a program called Todd Talks, right? And Todd talked about a lot. And so I'm happy to be here today to talk to you about my CrossFit journey and who I am and just, wherever we go.
Right on. So Todd officially, a little bit of background for our audience here. Todd officially became a part of the CFE community on August 16th of last year. So we're coming up on about a year now as part of our CrossFit onboarding program. According to our system, in a little under a year, he's completed 92 CrossFit sessions, including many group sessions and private coaching sessions. Todd is a working professional, the head of capabilities and excellence for a pharmaceutical company, and also a husband and father. Today, we'll learn more about Todd, the CrossFitter, and the man outside the gym. Are you ready, Todd?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we're going to break the ice with some easier questions. First, coming up on 100 CrossFit sessions under your belt now. Clearly, you have some perspective. What are your all-time favorite CrossFit workouts?
Legs, and more legs. So I have to say I love deadlifts, love squats. And I think I've only done it once, but the whole tire flipping experience, if people haven't done it, they need to ask for it.
Tire flipping and legs. It's interesting to me that everything you just described are the workouts that I find the most rewarding. Not necessarily my favorite workouts, but something that's super intense with lunges and squats and deadlifts. I walk away from those workouts feeling more accomplished than with any other workout. Is that how it is for you?
I don't know if I walk away. I might crawl away from those workouts, but at the end of the day, I think that, everything that it does from the standpoint of your stability, your core that gets involved. I mean, it's amazing when you think about all of the muscles that are involved to do some of those, what some people would look at to be, smaller moves. Like a deadlift is not a big move, right? But you're moving a lot of weight.
With a lot of muscle,
a lot of muscle. Yeah. And so for me, I love the form behind it, the way it feels. I mean, it's just, it's great. And then you talked about lunges. I think for me, probably the Bulgarian squats are the ones that of all of the leg movements, I hate the most, but I find the most rewarding, right? Are those.
Yeah. Yeah. I love, proverbially speaking, walking away from a workout, my legs feeling like they're made of stone, like just that strong muscle feel. Love that. So let's take the flip side of that now, Todd. What are the hardest CrossFit workouts you've ever done? Or if there's one shining moment, the hardest CrossFit workout you've ever done?
The hardest workout for me, it goes back to my first engagement with Kyle. And if Bailey and Debbie are listening to this, who I do a lot of training with, they'll know it's overhead squats. Anything that puts me and forces greater overhead mobility is just, it's tough. So I don't like them, but I do it because I know the benefits.
Yes. They're so humbling. Overhead squats are so humbling. You take people that are ridiculously strong and athletic, and they're just generally capable, and you challenge them to be stable and flexible overhead. Man, the overhead squat could be, I mean, that could be a diagnostic for, like, if you have any deficits in your fitness game, this one move will find it. Are you inflexible anywhere? It will find it. Are you unstable anywhere? It will find it. Are you not strong at some link in the chain? It will find it. It's one of those exercises that we embrace in CrossFit that is singularly difficult.
Yeah, I'd agree. Check and check to all those. It will find it. It found me.
So what are the exercises or the workouts you get the most excited to see in the programming, like the favorite stuff?
So it's interesting. You look at the Zen planner, or you go on to SugarWOD, and you look at the exercises that are upcoming, and the ones that I tend to gravitate towards. I love the partner workouts. I love the anything that has to do with a big cardio burn in the day. I'm in. It's something I've always liked to do. I've started before CrossFit. I was doing a lot of running anyways, and a lot of jogging and the like. And so to have your chance to get your heart rate up and mix your cardio in with some of the strength workouts, I think it's great. And the program at CrossFit Edwardsville does a great job of it. So for me, generally, I'm pretty excited to get to most of the workouts.
That's awesome, man. And you enjoy the best of both worlds. You got the group CrossFit thing and the solo private coaching. How would you describe the two, like the comparison or the contrast between the two?
So I think it's interesting. So the group work it's fun, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're around a lot of like-minded people, telling some jokes, pushing people. Even like I talked about with the partner workouts, partnering with people maybe you've not met before. So it's a chance to meet new people. And just everybody kind of doing the same thing and reaching towards whatever their individual goals are. I think when I think about the one-on-ones that I do, I mean, I focus is the first thing that comes to mind. It's focusing on where are those areas that you need to build, you need to strengthen. And I've worked out primarily with Bailey and Debbie, and they're both sadistic in their own way, in a positive way, right?
To our audience here, in case you're not familiar, Todd is referencing Coach Bailey, Coach Debbie, Coach Kyle, folks that have coached him at different points of his journey.
Yeah, and they've been great, and the consistency with all of them is they zero in on what my needs are. And when you do the traditional CrossFit sessions where everybody comes in, it's really focused on what the class is for the day. But when you come in and do the one-on-one, it is number one, what do we need to work on? Where are those areas that you're weak? Let's focus on those. Let's build in some other areas, and let's make sure that you get just what you have come for. And I think that the blending of those has been great for me. That's
awesome. You may find this surprising, Todd, that team workouts are often some of the most controversial workouts that happen at CrossFit Edwardsville, because some people, like yourself, like me, I love the camaraderie that comes with, and like the division of labor. Like, I can divide and conquer this workout, and if I'm teamed up with Chris Bronner, like, he's got strengths, I'll just outsource all that stuff to him, and I'll do the stuff that I'm great at, and the workout is fun, and you get to connect with people. Like, a lot of our CrossFitters feel the exact opposite. We're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be the person to slow down this person. I don't want to feel like I'm dragging down their abilities, like, or making them wait on me. So the team workout it's like this double-edged sword. Some people love it, some people totally hate it.
And if I pause there on this love and hate, I can see it. I understand what you're talking about. I think what I would challenge people who hate it would be to say, in those moments that you've been doing it, when have you gotten nothing but encouragement from your teammates?
Right.
And I think that embracing those differences, I think, is important. Finding out where people are stronger in areas where you can work on, or where you can accelerate those strengths, I think is phenomenal. And so, yeah, so if there are people, I wouldn't say hate, but if there are people that are just like, I don't know about the partner workout because of those things you said, I would take stock in when those things actually happen versus what normally happens, right? There's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of pushing of people and the one-on-ones. And at the end of the day, there's usually a big high five or a big fist bump because you both knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that maybe for folks that are not a fan of team workouts, it's because in team workouts, you have somebody who is directly focusing on your level of effort and output. And so you kind of can't hide. Like, you can't sandbag it necessarily if you got a teammate, you know what I mean? Because they're seeing, like, they're working with you, and like everything that you do, your whole effort is on display. So, but
Yeah.
now, so Todd, you're closing in on veteran CrossFitter status now. As you see new people come, man, people that are brand new to this, what's some of the mistakes that you see them make? Or if there's one mistake that you see that you want to highlight, what's the number one mistake that newbies make when they come into CrossFit?
So I think the first thing we all have to understand, right? And I'll throw this out before I get into what I think maybe the biggest mistake I see is that being nervous is natural, right? And not knowing, I think, is important. Embrace what you don't know, and don't try to kind of what I said. Don't use your initial training experience that you had, where the onboarding experience, to say that you're an expert or that you're going to try to figure it out on your own. And oftentimes, I think between that and people trying to do a little too much too soon, right? I've seen that a couple times. So whether it's in your cardio fitness, where people are just trying to knock it out of the park and be the best workout person they can, and then they burn out. And so that ability to know where you are in your journey, I think, is important. And then frankly, I think all the coaches are great at this, right? Which is pick a weight that you can do, not a weight that you think you can do. It's all about building up. So too much too soon. And then it's okay to be nervous, and it's okay to reach out and ask questions.
I love that you highlighted that it's okay to be nervous. I've been CrossFitting for 14 years, and I think I still get nervous before the workouts every time. And the thing is that just, you get to know your abilities, and you know how to push yourself. And I just know that I'm going to be pushing myself today. And you get a little bit of nervousness, but in my mind, I like to reframe it as, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. I'm excited about this workout. I'm excited about pushing myself. So just try to make that mental switch for me. But for Todd, what is the number one goal for you in fitness now? What's the most important thing you want to achieve in your fitness?
I think for me, I think the goal is consistency. When and that's because that's the key to everything, right? It's the last few months with just what's happening with some work things that are going on, it's impacted my ability to be as consistent as I want. And so what does that do? It keeps you from accelerating at the rate you want. It keeps you from achieving some of the goals that you want. So for me, my number one goal is consistency. I think the second goal within that is continue the core stability. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, I always call my stomach my front back, right? My front back controls my low back, and all of that controls everything else you do in life.
Yes.
And so those would be my two goals.
Isn't it amazing just how much core work we do? Like, some of it is obvious, like sit-ups, knee raises, leg raises, toes to bar. It's like obvious core work. But then when you're doing overhead squats, if you're doing deadlifts, your midline is working super hard to maintain balance, to maintain your position. It's all working super hard. CrossFit at its core is a core strengthening and conditioning program. Like, that's one of the first lines you see on the CrossFit main page. So
yeah,
I think always working core.
I think you're right, and that's one of the things I love about it, because it's funny. I see the evolution in my ability to do certain things that I couldn't do, and I look at it. I'm battling some shoulder challenges right now, so maybe not toes to bar, but getting on the GHD, right? And it's this apparatus for people that are new that you can kind of hang on and do sit-ups where you're just engaging your entire core, or you can do reverse, I call them backups, for lack of a better term, the reverse sit-up where you're engaging your back. And there are things I couldn't do in the amount, quantity, and form that I can do today.
Right.
And that's coming on the year. That tells you, I think, just how much core is engaged in this workout. And, it's I can tell you, I don't have near the back challenges that I had, 8, 10, 12 months ago. And that's directly related to the work that we do.
Well, I'll follow up on that. Let's go back in time a bit. So how did you first find out about CrossFit or even CrossFit? How did you first find out about this, Todd?
Wonderful advertising. So literally I was looking for something different. I think, we talked about it about a year ago with COVID and the pandemic. I'd been on the trails a lot, and I was averaging like 100 miles a month getting in trail work, which was great. But the problem was I wasn't doing any strengthening. I wasn't doing any of the work that, is also going to be great for your bone health, for your personal health and the like. And so still battling some of those challenges with, a weak back and a weak core. It doesn't matter how much jogging you do, you're not going to strengthen your core unless you focus on doing other things. And part of that strength work. So for me, I think it was, I found out about you guys through just doing some searches, and all of a sudden, hey, try out CrossFit Edwardsville. And so I did some exploration and reached out for some information. Next thing you know, we're having a pleasant conversation about goals and opportunities and the things you want to do. And, almost a year later, we're still talking, G.
Still talking. So a year later, what keeps you coming back to CFE?
And that is this is easy for me, to be honest with you. Number one, it's the communication. Even the emails like, hey, we've missed you, don't forget about us. And sometimes, I'm traveling like I have been recently, which has been abnormal. And those emails are just that nice reminder of, hey, you need to get back in the gym. You need to make this a priority. That's that part of it. But I think the other part is just, I love the community. I think it's something different every day, which is great. The flexibility in the classes is wonderful. And then frankly, the one-on-one experience we talked about, the ability to be able to dive in one-on-one, focus on areas that are important for me, and my health and my goals. I think that you don't get that going to the YMCA. You don't get that going somewhere where you have what I would call self-directed training.
Sure.
Most self-directed training programs end up stopping a little too soon. Oh, I don't feel like doing this. Oh, I'm already burned out. Are you really? Right.
Yeah.
And I've never once thought in a workout, oh, I can't do this. Even when I'm exhausted, you just keep going. And that's the value of working out with a group, working out with a team. You just keep going.
I was in a 9:30 workout earlier today, and there's no way I would have pushed myself as hard as I did if I was on my own. Just there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
The devil's presses, man. Wow. That's just very, very effective in very small doses. And so to our audience here, unfortunately, Todd was not able to join us today because Todd is traveling. Where are you today, Todd?
I am in the city of brotherly love, overlooking Philadelphia City Hall. So really exciting times for me to be here.
Really? Are you going to get out? Is this for work that you're there?
This is for work. So I got out last night. You'd be proud of me. It was hot, but by the time I was out, it was, I don't know, 7:30, and I got on and I got 4 miles in, just running around the city. Right. So I think that's the other part of this, right? You create, I talk about that consistency. For me, CrossFit has created this consistency and wanting to work out. I mean, I have a goal that I set for myself, which is never go more than 2 days without working out. And can you get it down to never go more than 1 day without working out? And so for me, even being in Philly, I can look at the workouts, and if the gym is there, that if it has the, maybe dumbbells that work for me, it doesn't need to be the exact weight, but I can do devil's presses, and I can do wall ball tosses. Might not be to the same degree, but I think these workouts are so flexible. You have the opportunity to do them anytime and anywhere, which is phenomenal. And that's the other part. You guys do a really good job. So you think about what keeps me coming back. Every week we get the workouts of the week. Hey guys, this is what we're doing. Right. Which can really set the tone for your planning purposes and things you want to do.
Cool. So for Todd, what have been the best benefits to doing CrossFit? Like in terms of like how you look, how you feel, how you perform as an athlete, as a man, as a business professional, a father, a husband. Speak to that for a bit.
I think that, for me, it's just the total well-being, the sense of well-being, right? I'm definitely stronger. We talked about that. I think, day one, I might've been able to do a pull-up, and now pull-ups aren't, I mean, besides my shoulder challenge that I'm working through, but pull-ups aren't that hard. I mean, I get up and jump on it. It's like, oh, look at this. I couldn't do that beforehand. You think about even deadlift. I couldn't think about moving, 300 plus pounds before. So that's cool, right? I mean, that's the cool stuff. It's like, oh, look what I can do.
Cool. Love it.
And you see the natural performance in what you're doing that's really quantifiable. But the qualitative part, and so this is me and the data guy and the research guy, that the qualitative part is all how you feel and all how you go about looking at yourself and what you think about yourself. And I think, if people do this and they commit to it, you should feel proud about who you are and what you're doing and what it's doing for you long term. And that's where I am right now with this.
Well, first, we love that. And second, we want to learn a little bit more about Todd and like who you are. So we're going to send this way back in time now to hear about your upbringing and your childhood, like where you're from, what your family was like, any special memories that really shaped you as a person. Tell us about Todd when he was in high school.
Oh my God, Todd when he was in high school. I feel like this is a song, right? If I could turn back time. So here we are, right? We're turning back the clock.
I didn't know you could say
Todd in high school. It's funny. The funny kind of embarrassing story, and it goes back to my mom coming out of my senior year in high school. I was featured in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, football player, this, that, and the other. So I was always an athlete, but I wasn't the most confident athlete in the world. And so there comes this article, and she talks about my journey from being this dumpy little kid, right? I was always a little overweight, big boned, as people like to say, right? Yeah. And wasn't necessarily, as I just said, the most confident. And so for me, high school was really this opportunity to demonstrate to myself who I could be. And I remember we had to take those armed forces, the Air Force test, the ASVAB test. And they came back, well, your son probably doesn't need to go to a 4-year school and would be better served going into the armed forces and this, that, and the other. Now, I'm a massive supporter of the armed forces, and I think that it's something that we should all be proud of those who serve. But man, oh man, did that light a fire under my butt to say, F you, right? And you don't know a freaking thing about me. And I became a leader. I became a leader of young men, which I never aspired to be. It just happened. And I grew so much as an individual. And that's where my passion for working out started. Just with a group of guys in the gym, trying to better ourselves season after season. And so, in high school, I loved history. That was really informative for me. I played a lot of sports. I was a baseball player growing up. I then, played football, obviously, that we just talked about, track, basketball. I just really loved the competitive nature of being in sports, and ended up playing college football until I ended up suffering an injury, a hip injury that said, no more football for you.
Got it. So then fast forward to now. Tell us about family now, like significant others, other family. Shout out the family and your people here a little bit.
So the shout out to the family, my people. So the first thing I'll go back to in high school, I think that the other part of that is that my life, my journey, who I am today is wholly shaped by my parents. And my father is my idol. My mother was she was the community mom, right? It didn't matter any topic. You come in, and if she doesn't like the antics that my brother and I were doing as far as their, shall we say, promiscuity, right? Yeah. She would let it known, and she would just have no problem, no filter, and saying things the way she thought. And I feel like I got the best of both of them, and that shapes who I am today with my family. So I'm married to Margaret. We've been married 23 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you, which is great. And we both share a passion for golf. So we love to golf. We do it together. We love to hike. We're going out to Colorado this fall for a wedding, and we're going to hang out there for a few more days and go to Breckenridge and just hike until we can't hike anymore. Right.
That's awesome. Love that place.
And then my daughter is 18. And so, I am a cheer dad through my daughter. And that brings me a lot of passion, actually. Watching her become who she's going to be has been amazing. That journey this past year, coming out of COVID, kind of a full year that they had, and her being a competitive cheerleader and all the effort she put into that. And I got to be a part of that, not a big part of it, but I announced all of their home cheerleading games. I had the pleasure of announcing the football games on YouTube, the high school football games, right, which is phenomenal. But getting back to her, when she was done, she decided she wanted to commit to try out for Ole Miss and their cheer team. And you got to understand, Ole Miss was coming off a national championship, and so she put in her effort and went to some of the camps they had down there to try to get there. Their cheer tryouts were about a month earlier than everybody else's. And I'm telling you, I've never seen a person for that matter, work so hard in such a short amount of time. She fell short, but even to that, she's already looking towards next year. Now she knows what she needs to do. She has the time to practice, the energy to put in, even going to school. So for me, I think proud husband, proud dad probably sums up my life right now and where I am.
That's awesome, man. It sounds like the being an athlete thing kind of runs in the family a bit, because if memory serves, when we first started talking, you had mentioned your daughter, who was 17 at the time. She was in cheer, but also pole vaulting.
Yeah.
Right at that time. That takes a lot of athleticism and explosiveness. We've actually had a handful of pole vaulters come through the CrossFit Edwardsville doors, and we would work with them on their strength, their explosiveness. Turns out things like power cleans, power snatches, very applicable to that kind of world.
Oh my gosh, pull-ups! Who could imagine?
Right?
Yeah, it is. And it's funny. I mean, we talked about her originally when you and I were talking, just getting into CrossFit. There's the casualty of COVID. Her freshman year, she broke her foot pole vaulting, which was just a freak injury. She had just gotten to her first varsity vault meet and cleared her career height at the time as a freshman, which wasn't, anything to write home about, but it was for her, right? Just because it was progression. To then breaking your foot, to then COVID happening 2 weeks into track season her sophomore year. So that's canceled. And then her junior year, all the sports were screwed up, moved all around, and she ended up being the competitive cheer season overlapped with track season. And she's like, I need a break. I need to rest. And that's what she did. And then this year, her senior year, obviously she's like, well, once I missed my freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year, she's like, I'm good. So yeah, but definitely sports and all of us being athletes to some level. I mean, my wife loves to play tennis and pickleball, along with golf, and she gets out and works out quite a bit too. So, I mean, it's something that we're all active, and we try to live somewhat of a healthy lifestyle. I say somewhat because, sometimes that trip like Coach Bailey and Taco Bell, sometimes those bad things make it on our list.
Too funny, man. But I tip my hat to you for setting an example of being the active person and being, I guess, like highly engaged and invested in your fitness. So cheers to you. Now Let's talk about Todd, the professional man. Tell us about your career.
Yeah. So, gosh, where to start? No, it's funny. I'm the poster child for not knowing what you want to do when you grow up. And that goes back from college, having no clue what degree I was going to get or why I was going to do it. Coming out there decided, hey, you know, I can be a golf professional. That'll be fun. I was working in the golf business anyways. And then realized that didn't have a bright future. And then got into sales, ended up in pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical sales. And from there, it's been a journey, a passionate journey of mine working in oncology almost the last 14 years or
Wow.
so. And that's been really fun. And I've done everything from selling products to being a manager to running a brand and a brand team to developing leaders and leadership development to doing what I do now, which is all about helping to build capabilities to bring products to market. So it depends. It could be a product that's 8 years out and we're talking about what do we need to be, what do we need to look like 8 years from now, or we're talking about products that are 12 months away from hitting the market. And that's a different set of questions and frameworks and groups of people we need to bring together. And I'm the guy that tries to define what that looks like and execute against it. And so it's a fun job, a lot of people involved. And, you know, it's been interesting with COVID. I used to travel almost weekly in the work that I do. And I think the value proposition for me over the last couple of years is I don't have to travel as much, right? The last few weeks, a little more so than normal, but that's really been great for me from a standpoint of being able to reinvest into myself. So I really used COVID and that downtime to invest in my own thinking about health and who I wanted to be and what was good going to look like when I turned 50, which happens next year. And so that's who I am. That's what I do professionally. I'm working on my doctorate at Vanderbilt right now in leadership and organizational learning. That's fun. I think COVID has allowed me to be able to do that, which has been good. And I've got about another year left there. And then we'll figure out what I really want to do when I grow up.
I love it. So we've talked about your hobbies and your interests outside the gym. So we're going to switch gears here a little bit, Todd. What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love? When I was into this, it was my cold shower in the morning. What is it for Todd?
So the unusual habit, I think, would have been my love of, or my absurd craving used to be circus peanuts. I mean, that's absurd.
Circus peanuts. Is that?
They are those little,
like the ones they feed to the elephants.
Those little marshmallow confectioner candies that you would hate. That looks like a peanut, but it's horrible. And people can go look it up. Just type in circus peanut, and you're like, that's disgusting. Okay. So that would be the most absolute absurd thing that people. I mean, my wife is like, I don't know how you do that, right? So that's bad. And I'll stick with that. I mean, I could say that I'm a habitual ice chomper. I love to like just chomp on ice and I'm have to be mindful of that because it drives my wife crazy. And she would say it as much, but you know, last I checked at the dentist, she said I had perfect teeth, so I can keep chomping.
Hey, and as a nutrition nerd around here, I'll encourage you to keep the ice and ditch the circus peanuts.
Yeah, I've ditched the circus peanuts as well as most of the other sugars. I've become boring, Greg. I'm just kidding. No, it's good. You know, I think, but that's the other part of working out, right? When you're doing stuff like this, when you're in CrossFit, and frankly, if you're a new person, especially, and nutrition has been a challenge for you. I did the nutrition plan for, probably the first 3 months, right? That I was in here, and taking ownership of that, learning a little bit more about nutrition and what's good, what's bad. And what you should be eating in the volume you should be eating it. And that's the other part, right? Which is oftentimes you might eat the right things, but you eat so much of the right thing that it becomes the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think that nutrition aspect of it has been good. And now you're mindful because it's like, I don't need that circus peanut because it's going to ruin what it is that I'm doing. Maybe I'll eat an apple instead and get my sugar fixed that way.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you learn as you go along, Todd. And like there's like a framework that I tend to work from that I like, and I'll share with our audience here. I think it's helpful. Is so many people and shout out to my wife Caroline for this as well. So many people when they're starting a healthy program, healthy track, a new healthy habit, they focus a lot on what they're giving up.
Mm-hmm.
I find it more helpful to focus on what you're getting, what you're gaining.
Yeah.
Because maybe life has fewer circus peanuts now, but maybe life has way more energy, more vitality, the way that you feel about yourself, the strength, the stamina, the energy, the endurance you actually have in life. It's a game changer. This is one of my philosophies, but I want to throw this back to Todd here. Are there any mantras or mottos or philosophies that guide you in life? And if so, what are they?
So I think the first one goes to CrossFit. It's Robbie Sullivan. If you're listening, you'll know it. And Coach Bailey and Debbie, they know it well. Is show up, shut up, get better. Right. And I talked about this when I first joined. I'm like, I don't want to have to think about what I'm doing when I work out. I just want to show up. I want to shut up, and I just want to do good stuff. So show up, shut up, get better is the mantra that I try to employ at CrossFit, and it works for me. My mantra in life, especially with my daughter, and it's something that I embrace, is you've got to stay true to you, right? At the end of the day, there are a lot of pressures that a lot of people try to put on one another. And, even in society today, I mean, it's a challenge in and of itself with what you see on TV and the things that you live. But the one thing I can say is if you stay true to you and who you are as a human being, good things are going to happen. And I try to live that every day.
Absolutely. I think that in a world that is as sensitive, or maybe oversensitive is the right term now, it's very easy for everybody to feel a pressure to filter themselves, to be a diluted down version of themselves.
Yeah.
So staying true to you, it could be challenging, but it's worth it. Now, if you could make only one statement to the world, maybe it was one you just shared with us, one statement to the world, what would it be? Or to put it another way, if we have a billboard over the highway of life that's going to be seen by thousands or millions of people, Todd, what would your billboard say?
Have you had a positive impact on somebody today?
Why that one?
I think it's so important in who we are as individuals that you got to think beyond yourself, right? And and when I say have a positive impact, it could just be making somebody smile. I had a student at SIUE who had recently graduated, just was down, and I play golf at Sunset Hills, and so we just went and talked for a little bit. What are you down about? What are the challenges? Trying to find a job. What does it look like? And we just talked about life experience, right? And the things that this person had to offer. I don't know what it's going to mean to that person. It didn't cost me anything, but the benefit to that person could have been great, So for me, that's why I think it's just important. It is really important that you think about the impact that you have on others, and is it a positive impact?
I appreciate the efforts that you make, Todd, to be a force for positivity and a force for good in this world. It helped be really helpful to the world to have more people like you and like that. So I guess one of the last questions I have for you, as you look ahead in life, what most excites you about the future, or what do you most look forward to now?
I mean, I look forward to graduating from this program. Number one, I mean, that's just get that off my plate. Right. Yeah. So, but I think the thing that I'm not like, even when you talk about the idea that it's a force for positive change, right? I'm not Pollyanna, right? In the aspect that, meaning you can't always be that way. You can't always be that person who's lifting people up. Sometimes you need people to lift you up.
Absolutely.
And I think CrossFit's another great example of going in and being around like-minded people. You can be having just a really bad day, but man, you get in there and all of a sudden the energy goes, the music's on, and it's just a great escape. And so when I think about the future and what the future holds for me, I tend to embrace the unknown. I like that. I like to embrace the kind of the chaos and ambiguity that life can be.
Yes.
And so for me, I think it's really just what excites me is that next chapter, and I don't know what that next chapter is, but I can't wait to write it, and I can't wait to read it.
Well, I look forward to hearing about it and learning about it as Todd Toma becomes Dr. Toma
Yeah,
in about
right.
a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Vanderbilt. Todd, any other closing thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up this podcast?
First, I think, Greg, I appreciate the time. I think this is such a great forum just for chatting, getting to know people. So what I would say to people, if you're new, reach out, let's talk. If you have questions, I'm there. If you're a veteran where I'm not quite the veteran, hey, stop aside, tell me I'm doing something wrong. That'd be great. Lend your assistance to me. But most importantly, my shout out is take this for what it is. It's fun. It should be enjoyable. Invest in yourself. And if you do that, you will not regret it.
Love it. Todd, thank you for coming to join us on the podcast. Thank you to our audience for tuning in today. If you want to learn more, CrossFitEdwardsville.com. You can click on that to get a no sweat conversation and then let that transition to your first class experience here at CFE. I'm going to do this sign out like my co-captain Dallas typically does, as he wishes Todd, our audience, everybody, an amazing championship day.